Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the reorganizational meeting for the town of Clarkstown. I'm going to ask that we kindly all rise as the Clarkstown Police Honor Guard now have the presentation of the colors.
Stand by. Colors. Attention. Colors. Port. Horse. Colors. Outward. March. Colors. Mark time. Ready. March.
Let us all join in the Pledge of Allegiance. Leading us tonight in the pledge will be Rockland County and World War II veteran Alan Muskin. Immediately following the pledge, the national anthem will be sung by the Nanuet High School Concert Choir.
Colors. Present.
I'll go 1, 2, 3, and let's all start together, okay? 1, 2, 3. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed, and the twilight's fast gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Colors. Shoulder. Horse.
Clarkstown Police Honor Guard will now retire the colors.
Colors. Right. Place.
Please remain standing for the invocation. Our invocation tonight is going to be delivered by Rabbi Paul Kurglin, representing the Nanuet Hebrew Center.
Let us pray. Sovereign of all creation, source of life, author of liberty, you have many names whom we all imagine with yearning hearts. We invoke your blessings upon our beloved Clarkstown, for its leaders and advisors, and for all who exercise just and rightful authority within our community. We gather today to ask each of us in our own way for your help in our tasks to meet the challenges ahead, to secure the blessings of liberty to us and our posterity. Inspire those who lead and serve to administer and conduct all their affairs faithfully and with devotion to justice. May your Spirit fill our hearts and our heads to seek the common ground, the common good, the common goal. Give us the courage to do what is both right and good. Give us the confidence to be bold in preserving our traditions of yesterday and ensuring our dreams and promises of tomorrow. Give us the compassion for all and for each other. And give us the discernment to know the difference between cleverness and wisdom, power and leadership, and what we do because we can and what we do because we should. But most of all, make us grateful. Grateful for the opportunity to serve the people of Clarkstown. May that sense of gratitude pervade all we undertake so that every act is infused with the trust we have been given and the trust we have accepted to preserve the inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And we praise you, O Holy One, who has given divine potential to mere flesh and blood. Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi. Kindly be seated. This evening, we're honored to have a number of distinguished guests, and I would like to call upon Supervisor George Homan to recognize them at this time.
So good evening, and we certainly want to recognize our state representatives. And before I get to them, I want to thank and recognize my colleagues on the town board, Councilman Frank Borelli, Councilman Peter Bradley, Councilman Don Franchino, and Councilman Pat Carroll. Let's welcome them and thank them as well. Also, our town clerk, Justin Sweet. We want to thank Justin for all of his efforts as well. I have in my prepared remarks later on some nice things I'm going to say about the next two gentlemen, but certainly our state representatives, Senator Carlucci and Assemblyman Zabrowski, good friends and hard workers for the people of Clarkstown. And Assemblyman Zabrowski gets extra credit because he brought his young child, Reagan. It's probably one of the best names in all of the town. But I do want to welcome two of our judges as well, Judge Howard Gerber and Judge David Asher. The minority leader from the Rockland County Legislature, Lon Hofstein. And I do want to recognize all of the town staff and department heads who I'll be mentioning later on, but I want to welcome Chief McCullough, Captain Wanamaker, along with, from my office, Al Maroney, as well as Rob Alberti from the town attorney's office. We have Paul Schofield, Tom Muscola, Leslie Kahn, our planning town planner, Joe Simos, Erica Scheim from the building department, Dennis Lutzen from the DEC as well. I do also want to recognize David Kirstel, and I want to thank him, a good friend from the JCC, the executive director. See Candy Draper, who runs our justice court, does a wonderful job over there, and our town assessor, John Noto. And then importantly, I do want to recognize and thank Alan Moskin for offering the pledge. You know, in a special way, we wanted to kind of incorporate Frankie Morea into this ceremony, but unfortunately Frankie passed away at the age of 105 about 2 weeks ago. Frankie was driving up until August of this past year, and so certainly we want to just think about Frank and keep him in our thoughts and prayers. I also see lots of other town staff here. I want to thank them for being here. Mike Melton runs our cul-de-sac crew, does such a great job, along with Paula Tobin from the town council office, Susan Resnick, Anne-Marie Bubb from my office, Diane Pappenmeyer from the planning office, Lauren Daly from my office as well, and anybody that I may have missed. I do see former Police Chief Peter Noonan in the back as well. Thank you, Chief, for being here. So with that, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Supervisor. We will now have a musical selection by the Nanuet High School Concert Choir.
First selection we'll be performing is called I Dream a World, written by Andre Thomas with a text by Langston Hughes. Inviting us to be part of this celebration of the new year. My name is Elaine Royal. I'm the director of the high school concert choir. This is my colleague, Mr. Andrew Carr, who directs our mixed chorus, and our colleague, Mrs. Tracy Dobell, who also is our co-teacher of our mixed chorus. We're very, very delighted to be here tonight. Thank you. Our second and final selection is a work by Sally Albrecht. It is a gospel setting of a very familiar Latin tune, Dona Nobis Pacem.
Thank you once again. Beautifully done. Let's give them another ovation. We will now have remarks from Town Supervisor, the Honorable George Holman.
You know, the difficult thing about freestyling and not going off your notes is you invariably miss people. Unfortunately, I missed our Superintendent of Parks and Recreation, Elaine. Sorry I didn't see you right behind David, but Elaine Applebaum. I see just joining us is Rockland County Legislator Lori Santulli in the back. Lori, thank you for being here. Our Fire Inspector Steve Ungerleiner in the back as well. I want to thank Steve for being here as well. Our Personnel Administrator for the town, Fran Hunt, in the back. Fran does so much, works so closely with all our department heads. Thank you, Fran. As well as the Chairman of our Parks and Recreation Commission, Brian Tesseman. Thank you, Brian. John Fellow from the Chairman from the Traffic Safety Advisory Board. John, thanks for being here as well. And Fran Cuccia from Link Elementary School, thank you for being here as well, the principal. So again, good evening, and thank you all for attending the 2019 reorganization meeting. And again, before I begin, we recognize the the elected officials here, but I do want to thank the members of the town board that are joining me here today. My colleagues, Councilman Borelli, Councilman Bradley, Councilman Franchino, and Councilman Carroll. And I look forward to working together, another strong year of us working together, stewarding the people, the government for the people here in Clarkstown. I also want to recognize and thank again our state legislators that have joined us here as well, and for all of their efforts and their support. Certainly, I'm very grateful to Assemblyman Ken Zabrowski for his efforts in working with me. We've had numerous successful grant applications, and I really would be remiss if I didn't thank he and Senator David Carlucci for all of their efforts in representing us well up in Albany. Ken has done just such great work, and we're very thankful for all of his representation. And David, I was pleased to be able to, and honored to be able to serve with you. You sat right to my left when I was on the town council, and it's great to see 10 years later how well you're representing us in Albany. And Reagan, it's so great to have you here joining us as well. But I want to thank our colleagues up in Albany for all of their support and working on behalf of the residents. And again, I really want to personally thank our police chief, Ray McCullough, and his administration of the police department. He's done a really fine job. In particular, I'm grateful for his efforts in recruiting some exceptional candidates that have diversified the department. We've had a couple of really exceptional classes that have been recently hired. A number of new officers under his leadership and tutelage were near up to full strength this year, which really will do wonders for the department. But it's a fairly diverse class, a number of bilingual, even some trilingual candidates, and that represent a lot of different ethnic backgrounds, as well as the first ever female lieutenant in the history of the department. And that really is thanks to the leadership of Chief McCullough and Captain Wanamaker and the men and women of the police department. I want to thank him as well. As we start the new year of town board business, I think it's really important that we take time to review where we've been and where we want to be going moving forward this year. And while the new year is often a time to look ahead, it's also a time to take stock and look back as one seeks to reaffirm one's purposes. Tonight may be called a reorganization meeting, but this year I also consider it a reaffirmation meeting for all of us, both individually and collectively, as we seek to work together and to serve one another. Tonight we reorganize and reaffirm a number of things. First, we reaffirm our pride and our love for the town of Clarkstown. Next, we reaffirm the values and principles that bind us together as a community and as individuals. And finally, once again, we reaffirm our commitment to administering a town government that represents all of the people of Clarkstown honestly and responsibly. I can recall just over 3 years ago, standing before you for the first time as your Clarkstown supervisor, speaking about our hometown of Clarkstown. Clarkstown's been my home for virtually my entire life. I was born and raised here, I remained here, and I'm raising my 3 children here. It's what drives me and my colleagues on the town board to make this the best home for all of our residents. Looking back upon this past year, I'm happy to report that we've made some real progress in some significant areas. I'm happy to report that despite some of the tough challenges that we inherited when I started, this administration and this town board has continued to identify long-term solutions for long-standing problems. Let me just mention a few. This past year, we completed several significant capital projects, some of which have been in discussion for 10 years or longer. These included the replacement of the Lake Nanuet bathhouse and other upgrades to allow the pool to serve the residents for the next 30 years. It was a significant upgrade in amenities and safety for Lake Nanuet. Similarly, the final renovations of the bathhouses at Jermon's Pool took place, making it a wonderful, safe, and inviting place for families. Some communities don't have one pool. Clarkstown has 3 exceptional ones. After many years, we finally tackled the first phase of the renovations of the Street Community Center, along with an enhanced Hall of Heroes, so that future generations of Clarkstown residents can reflect upon the sacrifice of those who have served our country bravely as veterans of the armed forces. And after 10 years, that's right, 10 years of leaks and a failure to address, we finally moved forward, and with the help of several grants, we have a new roof in place for our Clarkstown Police Department and Justice Court. We paved over 30 miles of roads, triple the number that we used to do, in an effort to get caught up and place us on a 10-year roadway resurfacing plan. We completed an overhaul of the Kings Park playground facilities, offering a wonderful new place for young families to recreate and gather. Perhaps most importantly, from my perspective of our capital programs, I was so proud of one of the smaller ones, one that helped us to recognize one of our own heroes, Corporal Megan Levy and her canine Sergeant Rex, with the opening of the Megan Levy Dog Park in Congers. It's already become a vital place for many residents within our community. Not only is it a new amenity, but it also recommitted and reaffirmed Clarkstown that is a place that remembers and will never forget the service and sacrifice of our veterans. In addition to all of these projects that are preserving infrastructure, we also took on some other types of projects about preservation. Namely, we completed the first significant open space purchases in over 10 years, preserving and protecting over 40 acres of property from development within our town. These included the acquisition of the Rockland Country Day School property, some 21 acres and 5 buildings adjacent to our town parks. It enables the town to protect this gem for the future. It will enable future park expansion and other possibilities, including the potential for senior housing. We also purchased over 4 acres on Mountain View Avenue, which we are working to incorporate into a trail network that interfaces with the Mountain View Nature Preserve. And finally, we celebrated the opening and the final preservation of nearly 20 acres of property at the old Marydell property, which has been incorporated and preserved into Hook Mountain. And I want to thank again our state representatives for their support of that acquisition. These were really important moves with an eye to the future. We also undertook several rezoning efforts that will enable redevelopment within our town. We did so in a responsible manner, seeking to preserve and protect our neighborhoods, as well as promoting business redevelopment in our downtown areas. We have a lot to look back upon, but we also have a lot to look forward to. Allow me to mention just a few things that we're working on this year. As always, code enforcement and preserving the quality of life in Clarkstown will be a hallmark of this administration and town board. Responsible development is rooted in an adherence to the rule of law and maintaining the standards enumerated in our zoning and building codes. Clarkstown's reputation for maintaining those standards has, I am proud to say, become, if you will, our calling card. Other municipalities in the region have looked to us as an example of the way things should be done. By adding code enforcement officers and a career prosecutor, we've literally put our money where our mouth is, and the numbers illustrate how impactful we have actually been. In 2015, the building department issued 717 violations, 58 of which ended up in justice court enforcement proceedings. In 2018, the building department issued 1,695 violations, almost 200 of which led to justice court enforcement proceedings. The message is crystal clear. Anyone could move here and live here, but you will obey our codes and our laws, period. No exceptions. I want to thank our building inspector and his staff for their exceptional efforts in this regard. We will redouble these efforts to protect our neighborhoods in Clarkstown from the scourge of illegal development and code violations in the coming year. Similarly, we are underway, and in 2019, we will complete the long-awaited transit-oriented zoning redevelopment for Nanuet by the train station. Eventually, the old industrial uses will be replaced after a final public input process with meetings with new mixed-use zoning. For well over 2 years, we've been collaborating with numerous stakeholders to gain input to create new zoning to better reflect and reinforce the traditional Main Street area and provide new housing opportunities near the train for young people and seniors looking to downsize. The area that we're addressing will be limited in scope, and once implemented, I expect will spur redevelopment. As for capital projects, we have a number that we will again reaffirm our commitment to solving long-term problems addressing infrastructure. As we speak, the Cranford Drive Drainage Project is underway with survey work nearly complete this week. 30 years in the making, this project will alleviate catastrophic flooding that occurs there after significant storms. The project will be completed in 2019 and is funded almost entirely by federal and state grants. We expect to begin phase 1 of the West Nyack Revitalization Project, which will alleviate the chronic flooding that occurs near the post office with the creation of a detention and retention pond, elevating the roadway, replacing 2 culverts, and making significant enhancements and upgrades to the West Nyack Hamlet Green Park and the Hamlet Green Park. There'll be a new playground, a trail around the detention pond. There'll be upgraded decorative lighting, new sidewalks, and curbing. We're also awaiting FEMA final approval on the allocation of over $3 million in funding from the federal government. And we will once and for all tackle the Klein Avenue levee problem in West Nyack. This project will raise the levee by 4 feet, and it will take hundreds of residents out of the floodplain. More importantly, it will ensure that when the Hackensack River is swollen with water, it will not end up in the basements of West Nyack's residents. We will complete our work at Street Community Center by completing the classroom wing of the site with numerous upgrades, including a new workout area, as well as an expanded area for yoga and exercise classes. And it'll serve as a wonderful new gathering place for our residents of all ages to enjoy our programs. The renovation of the historic Budke House, one of the oldest properties in Rockland County at our Trapegan property, will get underway. In fact, I smile as I see Paula Tobin out in the audience, who's really taken a leadership role with the Heritage of West Nyack group and working with my administration to kind of push this forward. Ms. Paula will tell you, and she snapshotted and sent a picture to me this morning. In today's Journal News, the bid is advertised. We'll have the bid opening on February 12th. Work will start in March. It'll be completed by the end of September. And we're really excited because this will give residents of Clarkstown an opportunity to have a hands-on experience of our rich history. And it's fully funded with $500,000 in state grants from Senator Carlucci and Assemblyman Zabrowski. Again, we're grateful for their efforts. The Trapegan project, yeah, that's good, that's good. The Trapegan property is also now further developed with the completion and soon to be opening of a nearly 1 mile long hiking trail that will enable residents to enjoy the wonderful outdoors in the middle of our town. I want to thank Elaine Alphabaum from our Parks and Recreation Department and her staff, who work so closely with so many volunteers, Eagle Scouts, and AmeriCorps workers. That was largely constructed through volunteers and donations. And we plan on opening up later in the spring, and it'll be a wonderful opportunity for residents to access behind the Trapegan property. The trail snakes through the woods up behind Route 304 and back into the ball fields. It's really a remarkable accomplishment within our town. And again, I want to thank Elaine and her staff for all their efforts with that. We also plan on paving another 30 miles of roads, which again is triple the average amount that we've paved in the past. We're keeping with our commitment to getting us on a 10-year paving plan. In fact, with this number of roads that we're paving this year, we'll actually be up to about 140 miles of roads that the town has resurfaced over a 4-year period. It's really an exceptional opportunity for us to really get our roads back to where we want them to be. And later this year, we're going to hold public hearings to change several laws. Another way in which we're going to better protect our neighborhoods and address quality of life issues. These will include licensing of our landscapers. It will include enhanced penalties for illegal dumping of leaves in the street and debris in the street. We're going to overhaul our noise ordinance, making it responsible and enforceable. And we're currently reworking our traffic calming program with new guidelines for speed bumps and other traffic calming measures to better address speeding within our town. And we're going to continue our leadership in green initiatives by seeking to install additional solar panels on all of our town buildings. In fact, we're hopeful through the acquisition of some additional grants that Clarkstown will become the first municipality in all of New York State to obtain all of its electric needs for its government purposes from renewable energy by the year 2021. These are all great. These are all great and wonderful accomplishments, if you will, that we as a town and an administration have together achieved. However, we realize that these alone are not what makes the reputation of Clarkstown great as a place to work, live, raise a family, or build a business. The foundation of that reputation is the people who live here in Clarkstown. I thank the people of Clarkstown for their goodness in always seeking the better angels of their nature in supporting one another. In these challenging times, the people of Clarkstown demonstrate time and again their willingness to roll up their sleeves and support one another. We saw some wonderful examples of it this past year, whether it be the dozens, literally dozens of fundraisers to support young Will McHugh and the building of his home after a catastrophic illness claimed most of his limbs, or the countless food drives and blood drives and fundraisers for people in need, or the over 300 people who donated coats, new and used, to the annual coat drive that my office sponsored. I'm never short of amazed by the love and charity of the people of our town. It has been my honor and privilege to serve as the 45th supervisor of my wonderful hometown. And I thank the good people of this town for the trust and confidence that they have placed in me by electing me to serve 2 terms as your supervisor. I pledge to continue to work with the town board so that together we can continue to do all in our power to maintain the quality of life and character of this community, and to one day pass it on to the next generation. Together, I look forward to another year of leadership, stewardship of that which has been entrusted to me and my colleagues in town government. May God bless you, God bless Clarkstown, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Holman. Let us all stand as I call upon the Reverend Richard Hasselback from the Clarkstown Reformed Church in West Nyack for the benediction.
Let us pray. Pray to God, we give you thanks. We thank you for the spirit of faithfulness in this room. We thank you for community, because you don't call us just to be a municipality. You call us to be a community. And so we thank you for that sense of family that our supervisors spoke about. Let this place be a family. Let it be a place of love and acceptance and understanding. Family is that place where when you have to go there, they have to let you in. And so let us be a welcoming place. Father God, I bless the work of our leaders at every level and the work of our public servants who are striving so diligently to make this community livable. But more than livable, Creator God, make us a welcoming place where no one is shunned or ever left out. Creator God, we hear the voice, and from time to time, of yet another generation. May this place be for Regan a place as wonderful to grow up as it was for George, and as it has been for so many generations of folks in Clarkstown. And so, Father God, bless us. You have created us. You've sustained us. You have brought us to this sacred moment. And now fill us with a spirit of your power and your passion and your love, so that we might do the work you have given us to do to make this place, this community, your family and our family. Amen.
Let us remain standing and join with the Nanuet High School Concert Choir in singing God Bless America.
God bless America.
Kindly be seated. Once again, I just want to thank the Nanuet High School Concert Choir for taking the time and joining us here this evening. Following the town board meeting, a reception will be held in room 301. I now turn our meeting over to Supervisor Holman and the town board. I would ask that our town clerk, the Honorable Justin Sweet, kindly call the roll.
Supervisor Holman.
Present.
Councilman Borelli.
Present.
Councilman Bradley.
Present.
Councilman Carroll.
Present.
Councilman Franchino. Present. You have a quorum.
Thank you. And with that, the first order of business, what I'd like to do is actually take a 2-minute recess, because I know we're going to allow the students from Nanuet and anybody else that would like to go on with their evening to go. I want to thank the Nanuet Choir again, and let's recognize them as well. There are refreshments upstairs. Our town board agenda should go quickly this evening. So I'm going to take a 2-minute recess if anybody would like to go upstairs for refreshments or has to move on, and then we'll start with our reorganization meeting. So we're in recess for 2 minutes. Okay, good evening. We're going to get back with our reorganization meeting. I'd ask everyone to please take their seats. Joe, we're going to do a special presentation, then you right away. And again, there are refreshments upstairs if anybody would like to go up who's stepping out. But we're going to move on with our first order of business. This should be largely pro forma. But our first order of business is recognizing the Benson family and the Benson girls. They're all students at Link Elementary School. Emily, Chloe, and Georgia Benson, ages 8, 7, and 5 respectively. And we're going to recognize them for their outstanding charitable contributions to our community. They worked with their mom in organizing a backpack drive through the school. And together, these girls with a bunch of their colleagues over at the school and other kids within the Girl Scouts and within the community packed and delivered over 10,000 backpacks with supplies in August for children and families in need. 10,000. The girls, with the able assistance of their mother and through the school and through the Girl Scouts, also helped to collect over 5,500 turkeys and over 10,000 pounds of produce in November, which were donated to various organizations, included but not limited to the City of Yonkers, City Council for various shelters in Yonkers for the homeless and for community centers and senior citizen homes. And it also assisted communities throughout the Yonkers, the North Bronx, Harlem, and portions of New York City, and even some of it was sent down to Philadelphia. They also worked on a homeless food drive. The girls work and help to feed the homeless with PCNY in the streets, the division of PCNY that allows the girls to directly feed the homeless and less fortunate in New York City. And then they also worked and helped to organize their own coat drive, which actually rivaled the coat drive that we collected in Clarkstown. The girls helped to collect over 296 coats through a coat drive in their school and throughout the community this past November and December. So for all of that, we're going to recognize the Benson girls and with their parents, with Mrs. Cuchin, and we'd like to have them come up, and the town board will come down. Okay, we're going to move on with our next order of business, which is actually a public hearing. It's unusual to do this in reorg, but it's, again, it's time sensitive because of the Community Development Block Program. I'm going to ask for a motion to open the public hearing. Moved by
Second.
Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman Borelli. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'm going to ask our town planner, Mr. Simos, to please come up and address this matter.
Evening. As is typical every year, the town considers a request to the Rockland County Consortium for community development block grant funding. The Citizens Advisory Committee met 3 or 4 times at the end of last year and considered various proposals from various nonprofits within the town and also town departments. We've presented to the town board our recommended prioritization for funding for community development block grant funding. First priority is Bridges, which provides transportation for disabled veterans, and Meals on Wheels, which provides not only meals for seniors, but also various other support services. Second priority for Touch, which has started a food recovery program. Third priority, Javon Javoti, provides programming and support, a support group for seniors. And Clarkstown, we've also, the Clarkstown Parks and Recreation Department, we're looking to try to fund a senior bungee yoga program. And fourth priority is for a mini-trans bus for seniors. All of these grants range in a few thousand to a maximum of $25,000.
And again, this is through the work of the Citizens Advisory Committee, which it's a volunteer committee that meets and as not-for-profits make proposals and ask for support from the local municipalities. And again, it doesn't mean that these, any or all of these are going to be funded, but it does show that the town board is supportive. Meals on Wheels and Touch are located within our town. Bridges provides transportation for disabled veterans, for veterans within our town. Javon Jahod, I see Suresh Ayer was here. I don't know if he went upstairs, but he's the leader of that group, and they do some exceptional work with our Parks and Recreation Department, and it's a bungee yoga. That doesn't mean they're going to be bungeeing, you know, off of any bridges. It means they're bungee type cords and stretching, and a yoga class and program that'll be held here in the town. And then, of course, a bus for the mini-trans that will serve just senior citizens at the discretion of the town in the future. Again, this just puts the support of the town board behind these projects, and then it's up to the county to determine if they'll fund these, you know, moving forward. Are there any questions for Mr. Simos from members of the board?
Thank you.
Okay, are there any questions? All right, so there being none, I'll entertain a motion to close and adopt the resolution.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Borelli, second by Councilman Carroll. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're going to move on then with our regular agenda. These are largely pro forma. Again, I'll try and move through them very quickly. Resolution number 1 is adopting salaries for all town officials and employees. Resolution number 2 is respect to official undertaking of town officials as authorized by town law number 25. Again, these are annual resolutions that are undertaken by the town. 3 is establishing the petty cash for all departments. 4 establishes the official banks where we can deposit funds. 5 authorizes the town attorney to settle claims against the town and defend the town. There's resolutions regarding town funds and how they're to be managed. These, again, are all pro forma annual standard resolutions. Number 7 is directing the town clerk to deposit monies in interest-bearing accounts. And thankfully, the interest rates are going up, so that's going to be positive for all of us. Resolution number 8 is authorizing the filing of a summary financial statement, as is required by law each year. Resolution number 9 is authorizing the town attorney to institute actions on behalf of or to defend proceedings against the town that are brought against the town of Clarkstown, its agencies and employees. Again, standard, just authorizing the town attorney to represent the town and to defend the town against lawsuits and legal actions. Number 10 is authorizing the supervisor to employ office students and part-time workers. That's a broad category that allows for office workers and student workers throughout the year in various departments. 11 is authorizing the application of the Public Officers Law to be applicable to all officers and employees of the town of Clarkstown. Resolution number 12 is the authorizing the agreement with BPS, and this is for $15,500 for 2018 and $3,500 for 2019. This is our software vendor program. 13 is authorizing an agreement at the same amount as last year, Vincent Toomey, to handle employment and labor matters. There's been no increase, and in fact, Mr. Toomey didn't exceed his retainer last year, so he's confident that he'll be within the retainer this year as well. Resolution number 14 is authorizing the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Berard and Associates for the annual town audit, which will start by March. Resolution number 15 is authorizing the supervisor to enter into an agreement with the County of Rockland to reimburse the town for law enforcement overtime for counterterrorism training. And we thank the chief for that. So it's actually accepting $45,500 from the county for counterterrorism training for our police department. 16 is authorizing the supervisor to enter into agreement with Partners in Safety for our annual drug and alcohol testing program as it's applicable to our workers. Anybody that has a CDL license is subject to testing, and it's done, it's done randomly, and so this is the annual drug and alcohol testing program. 17 is authorizing the supervisor to sign a memorandum of understanding with the County of Rockland to renew and continue our ongoing participation in the Rockland County Intelligence Center. That's all of the different task force that we're involved with, and we also, once that's signed, there's some seizure funds that will be coming over to the town as well. Resolution number 18, or a couple of things that are germane to this particular meeting, and we accept the resignation by retirement of Arlette Phillips, who was a drafter in the assessor's office. It's retroactive to December 31st, 2018. We also accept the resignation by retirement of Elizabeth Kelly, who was a clerk in the police records office, effective and retroactive to December 31st, 2018. Resolution number 20 was accepting the resignation by retirement of George Hernandez, a custodian in the Parks and Recreation Department, again retroactive to December 31st, 2018. The resignation of retirement by Gerald Termini, custodial worker in building maintenance, again retroactive to December 31st of 2018. The resignation by retirement of George Nugent, who was the chairman and member of the Sanitation Commission, and that's effective and retroactive to January 1st, 2019. So those are all retirements, and we thank all of those folks for working and serving the town, and the last, Mr. Nugent, who served for many years as the chairman of the Sanitation Commission. The rest now are reappointments of different folks. Don Rich to the position of chairman of the Alarm Review Users Board, effective January 1st of 2019 to expire January 1st, 2020. Reappointing Steve Kunis, and that's to serve without compensation. Reappointing Steve Kunis as the chairman of the Architectural and Historic Review Board, effective and retroactive January 1st to the end of the year at an annual salary of $600. Reappointing Edward Hewitt, chairman of the Fire Board of Appeals, effective and retroactive January 1st, 2019 through January 1st, 2020, without compensation. Reappointing Brian Tesseman as chairman of the Parks and Recreation Commission, effective and retroactive to January 1st, and will expire at 12/01 on January 1st, 2020. His stipend for that is $712 annually. Reappointing Gilbert Heim, chairman of the Planning Board, effective and retroactive January 1st to expire on January 1st, 2020. His total annual salary is $72.50. Reappointing Kevin Hobbs, chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals, effective and retroactive to January 1st and expire on January 1st, 2020. And again, his total compensation is $3,305. Reappointing John Feller, chairman of the Traffic and Traffic Fire Safety Advisory Board, effective and retroactive January 1st to January 1st, 2020, a $712 annual stipend. Reappointing Andrew Giuseppe as a member of the Clarkstown Audit Committee, effective and retroactive to January 1st, will expire on December 31st of this year without compensation. Reappointing Dan Rifkin, a member of the Clarkstown Audit Committee, effective and retroactive January 1st to December 31st, 2020, again without compensation. Reappointing Robert S. Van Pelt, member of the Audit Committee, effective and retroactive to January 1st of this year. It will expire on December 31st of 2021. Again, that's to stagger the terms of the Audit Committee. Reappointing members of the Technical Advisory Committee, effective and retroactive to January 1st, 2019, and it'll expire on December 31st, 2019, again without compensation. Reappointing members of the Clarkstown Citizen Advisory Board, you heard Mr. Simos talk about them earlier. Again, to serve without compensation, they'll serve throughout the end of the year. Reappointing members of the Assessment Review Board, effective and retroactive to January 1st, 2019, and expire on December 31st, 2019. It's at a per diem rate of $175 per meeting per attendance when the board is in session. Reappointing members of the Deferred Compensation Hardship Committee, effective and retroactive to January 1st through the end of the year, again, to serve without compensation. Reappointing members of the Pride of Clarkstown Committee, effective and retroactive to January 1st, 2019, and will expire on December 31st, again, to serve without compensation. We have two other items, time-sensitive, authorizing a refund of a ZBA variance fee to John Ninavega for a property known as tax map number 44.16-3-63. The refund amount is $215. If our building inspector could speak to that.
Yeah, this was a partial refund for a zoning board of appeals application. The resident just decided not to move forward with the project and is requesting a partial refund.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the board on that? No. And then the last one is just granting certificates of registration to perform sewer-related work. And that's Richard Orsini, Jerry Ciaffi, Carmelo Scafidi and Sons Blacktopping, Rooter Plumbing, Hudson Valley, Victor P. Zugaby, Kevin Stokes, Excavating, American Minute Maids, Sewer Drain and Coppola Services, Inc., as well as Travacon, Inc., from Valley Cottage, and these are all allowing them to be vendors for sewer work within the town. Are there any questions from any members of the board?
I had a question. On number one, the salaries of town officials. I know last year it wasn't posted online. I didn't know if we were planning on putting
Yeah,
the town
absolutely.
salaries online this year.
Absolutely. In fact, I directed, once it's approved, it'll be posted on the website. It should have been.
Okay, another quick question. For Toomey's authorization on 13, it indicates reasonable expenses. I know we had a question at one point when he hired a private investigator. I just didn't know who okays the reasonable expenses and what determines what reasonable is.
Sure. So that would be the town attorney, and we can put a process in place that as that's moving forward, I'll make sure that the town board is notified as well.
I mean, say like anything over X amount, we can.
Yeah, I'll have to look at what's actually within the agreement, but I think it's typically it's not in the thousands. It's usually copies, travel, things like that.
I mean, the PI costs like $4,000 or something like that. So that, I think that one maybe should have gotten okayed by someone. And then finally, I know we're trying to get this meeting done because there's refreshments and a ceremonial meeting. We mentioned at the top of the meeting maybe not having a public comment period, but I think that if anyone wants to say anything briefly, we should give them the opportunity.
Well, we were taking, typically, historically, we haven't taken regular public comment, but just on agenda items. So does anybody have any questions on the agendas?
Thank you. That's all for me.
Everybody?
Thank you.
Just a quick question. Oh, Mark Hadelson, New City. Can you just briefly tell us about pending litigation that's still open from last year? And this estimated amount, but what it's going to cost this year?
Are there any other questions on the agenda items?
Al Astowitz, New City. I believe it's number 13. The drug and alcohol testing.
Yes.
I was wondering if that includes any and all town employees that have town vehicles, rather than just CDL. I think anybody who's driving a town vehicle should be included in that.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions on agenda items? Yes, please come forward.
Marchuk, New City. I have a question on number 10, number 23 through 29, and number 34. Number 10, are town board members' children still not allowed to work for the town? I asked that at the last meeting and never got an answer. Number 23 through 29, where it mentions without compensation, that's really not true. Number 23 is getting $1,010 to serve as a member. Number 24, Steve Kunis is getting $600 as chairperson plus $2,600 as a member, bringing his total to $3,200. Ed Hewitt, that's number 25, is getting $1,010 as a member. He's not getting paid as chairperson. Brian Tessieman on the Parks and Recreation Board is getting $712 as chairperson and $3,029 as a member, bringing his total to $3,741. Gil Heim on the Planning Board is getting $7,250 as chair and $6,655 as a member, bringing his total to $13,905. That's absurd. And Kevin Hobbs, who is an attorney, is getting $3,305 as a chairperson and $5,233 as a member, bringing his total to $8,538. John Feller on the Fire Safety Board, Traffic and Fire Safety, is getting $712 as chair and $2,570 as a member, bringing his total to $3,282. This is all on the salary schedule. If anybody doesn't have it, you can check it. And also, as far as the Assessment Review Board, at $175 a meeting, in 2018, they met 15 times, bringing their total up to $13,125. I know you've reduced some of the boards, George, but all of the
30
chairs
seconds,
should be
Mrs.
without compensation, and the stipends to be a member should absolutely be reduced, and the numbers on the boards should be reduced. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else with any questions on the agenda items? Great, okay, so let me see if we can, Mr. Adelson, that's a pretty broad description. I'm going to ask the town attorney to go through that. We are sued hundreds of times each year. Slips and falls on roads, car accidents, so I don't really know what's open. We do have some litigation. We still have the Black Lives Matter lawsuit. There's some other lawsuits involving staff, former staff. So I don't have a full listing of it, but we'll get the town attorney to provide that to you. Mr. Oslitz, it's an excellent idea about drug and alcohol testing. It's something that's contractual that we'll have to negotiate with the union. You know, and there are certain provisions within the union contract that if there are staff that have a specific responsibility that involves them working with either children or people that have medical needs, that under the contract we can do drug and alcohol testing of those individuals, but it's not something that's all encompassing, but it is something as we negotiate the new CSEA contract this year that we'll add onto the list. Ms. Hook, thank you for recognizing the fact that we have actually significantly reduced the amount of dollars spent on the boards and commissions. A number of the chairs are serving without compensation. I think where that's applicable, we've mentioned it. A number of the members and some of the boards are serving without compensation, but some are. We have reduced some of that, and we'll continue to look at it. But as I said, I think we reduced it by over 30 or 35, maybe even 40%. I'll give you the exact number, and there are no raises for any members of the boards or commission this year. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to kind of move forward with the agenda items. We'll move with resolution number, why don't we do all the 1 through 11? Moved by Councilman Carroll, seconded by Councilman Borelli. All those in favor say aye. We'll do resolution number 12, moved by Councilman Bradley, seconded by Councilman Franchino. All those in favor say aye. Resolution number 13, moved by Councilman Borelli, seconded by Councilman Bradley. All those in favor say aye. Resolution number 14, moved by Councilman Borelli, seconded by Councilman Bradley. All those in favor say aye. Resolution number 15, authorizing the supervisor to enter an agreement with the County of Rockland to reimburse. Moved by Councilman Franchino, seconded by Councilman Borelli. All those in favor say aye. Resolution number 16, authorizing the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Partners in Safety. Moved by Councilman Carroll, seconded by Councilman Bradley. All those in favor say aye. Resolution 17, authorizing the supervisor to sign an MOU with the county. Moved by Councilman Borelli, seconded by Councilman Franchino. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Let's do resolutions number 18, 19, 20, actually through 22. Let's move, we'll move that and second it by the entire town board. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Resolution number 23 through 38. Moved by Councilman Franchino, second by Councilman Bradley. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And then the final resolution, moved by Councilman, 39 rather, moved by Councilman Bradley, seconded by Councilman Borelli. All those in favor say aye. The certificates of registration, moved by Councilman Franchino, seconded by Councilman Carroll. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'd ask everybody to please stand. We're going to take a moment of silence in memory of all those who passed away this past year, but in particular, we want to recognize our late resident who just recently passed away, Frankie Morea, and we'll ask for a moment of silence. Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman Bradley. All those in favor say aye. Thank you, everybody. There's refreshments upstairs.